The Titanic was the high point of Edwardian maritime ambition, a gilded Leviathan built by Harland and Wolff in Belfast for the White Star Line. Promoted as virtually unsinkable, she was a three-decked palace of oak, marble, and electric light, crewed by seasoned sailors. Captain Edward J. Smith, a steady, silver-mustached veteran nearing retirement, took the liner's maiden peacetime transatlantic run as a capstone to a 40-year career. Thomas Andrews, the ship's meticulous designer from Harland and Wolff, moved through plans and bulkheads like an architect guarding a cathedral. J. Bruce Ismay, White Star's managing director, sailed with the press hungry for spectacle and shareholders eager for prestige. The passenger list stitched together magnates, emigrants, society matrons, stokers, and steerage families, a cross-section of empire, aspiration, and migration. On April 10, 2012, Southampton watched the great ship slip her moorings, a procession of bands, bunting, and confident crowds tracking her down the Solent. Wireless operators tapped routine messages, coal-fed the boilers, and officers plotted a swift summer crossing. Confidence, both gilded and technical, filled the decks, creating a tight, inevitable stage for the first breach of ordinary expectation. Tension simmered beneath the glamour. All through April 14, 1912, Marconi operators aboard the Titanic logged mounting ice warnings. Messages from other steamers, most notably the SS Mesaba, reported heavy pack ice and numerous large icebergs along the proposed track across the North Atlantic. Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, Titanic's wireless men, relayed those cautions while also handling passenger telegrams, and those messages reached the bridge where the ship's officers weighed risk against schedule. Captain Edward J. Smith, calm and confident in his seamanship, chose to maintain near-advertised speed, convinced by the ship's build and his officers' experience that she could thread the ice. As the sun dipped on April 14th and a cold, glassy sea spread under the stars, lookouts. Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee took their night watch in the crow's nest without binoculars. The set had been left ashore, eyes straining against a black ocean. The night watch was thin, the sea was dead calm, and the silence made the heart of the ship feel too loud. Maybe clicking subscribe would have saved them. At 11:40 p.m. ship's time, Fleet cried, "Iceberg, right ahead!" The cry cut through the decks and into the chart room. First Officer William McMaster Murdoch ordered hard a starboard, and engines reversed in the classic steamship maneuver to pass a hazard. The hull ground along the starboard bow with a grinding metallic groan and a series of dull thuds as plates kissed ice and seams opened. Passengers felt a peculiar shudder rather than a catastrophic crash. Officers moved from curiosity to concern when water began creeping into forward spaces and the ship listed faintly, the first undeniable sign that something terribly wrong had been done to the great vessel. Thomas Andrews moved from corridor to bulkhead with measured dread, running his fingers along riveted plates and consulting plans like confessions. Within minutes, he calculated that 5 of Titanic's forward watertight compartments were ruptured and warned Captain Edward J. Smith that the ship could not remain afloat if they filled. He told Smith the stark truth. The ship would sink, likely within a couple of hours, and the tone on board shifted from confident routine to urgent, disciplined crisis. Orders went out to uncover and swing out the lifeboats. Officers and stokers became methodical hands of chores and calculations, checking davits, lowering boats, and assigning places. Jack Phillips and Harold Bride fought the wireless through the night, sending CQD and then the newer SOS. Their messages reached other ships and finally pierced the Atlantic silence, summoning help. RMS Carpathia, under Captain Arthur H. Rostron, turned toward the coordinates and steamed through a winter sea to answer the call. Nearby, the SS Californian, whose wireless operator had gone off duty, failed to respond effectively. Her crew later reported seeing rockets, but not understanding their meaning. On deck, a grim choreography unfolded. Stewards shepherded passengers. Officers enforced women and children first. Some men obeyed and others protested, and the band, led by Wallace Hartley, played on as if to stitch courage to the night. Lifeboats were launched half full because disbelief and protocol slowed full loading. The great liner, polished, brass-bound, and gilded, was diminished boat by boat. Every lowering, every wireless plaint, every shouted name tightened the knot of inevitability that carried the story to its final, cold conclusion. As the night deepened, the Titanic's damaged bow settled and steadily sank as the forward holds flooded and water crept aft, while the stern rose with a terrible, slow dignity until her propellers were exposed. Officers and crew fought to buy time. They closed heavy, watertight doors, prepared and lowered lifeboats, and called out names. Yet the ship's design, breached in 5 forward compartments, set a merciless timetable. Lifeboats kept clearing away. Many launched under capacity because disbelief, social protocol, and hurried orders constrained boarding. Each partially filled lifeboat left more people on the Gilded Leviathan. Acts of heroism ran through the decks. Stokers and stewards worked the davits until their hands bled. Women and children in steerage were guided through locked gates, and passengers like Margaret Molly Brown organized and consoled survivors in the boats. Panic flared in pockets. Some men shoved and a few doors were battered, but firm enforcement of women and children first by officers and crew saved many lives. Wallace Hartley and his band played on the forward deck. Their music was a solemn, civil counterpoint as the ship's lights stuttered and went, and the musicians died with the ship. Notable passengers show the scale of the loss. John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus did not survive, and Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, perished in the final hour. Captain Edward J. Smith was lost when the ship went down. J. Bruce Ismay was among those rescued in a lifeboat and later faced intense public scrutiny. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the Titanic sank in the North Atlantic. Her last breath faded beneath a winter sky while lifeboats drifted among ice and floating debris, carrying a small, stunned group of survivors toward eventual rescue. After Titanic's great hull vanished beneath the ink-black Atlantic, the RMS Carpathia, under Captain Arthur H. Rostron, steamed through an ice-strewn night to gather survivors. On April 18, 1912, she delivered 705 shattered souls to New York, their clothing salt-stiff and their eyes hollow with the cold arithmetic of loss. Word leapt across ocean and empire. Southampton and New York received limping contingents of relatives and returned crew, telegrams multiplying private grief into public outrage that demanded answers. Newspapers unfurled harrowing lists and portraits. Confidence once brass-bound began to crack as questions focused on speed, lifeboats, and the role of J. Bruce Ismay. Governments moved. In New York on April 19th, Senator William A. Smith opened a U.S. Senate inquiry, and in London on May 2nd, the British Wreck Commissioner's inquiry under Lord Mersey convened. Testimony poured in, wireless logs, lifeboat accounts, officer depositions, and physical evidence like damaged hull plates and the ship's boat muster sheets was presented. The hearings became a theatrical crucible where survivor testimony, telegrams, and ledgered facts collided with moral judgment, forcing a frenzied search for accountability amid the wreckage of pride and empire. The Titanic's sinking did not just shock the world. It forced immediate sweeping reforms that reshaped maritime law and practice. In 1914, the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, required enough lifeboats for everyone on board, a continuous 24-hour wireless watch, and regular lifeboat drills. Nations also set up the International Ice Patrol to chart hazards across North Atlantic routes. Ship design changed too. Builders adopted better compartmentalization, stronger bulkheads, and improved watertight subdivision, while emergency routines were standardized and crews were retrained on lifeboat loading. Public faith in unregulated technological certainty was replaced by weary vigilance and a demand for accountability from shipping lines and regulators. Titanic's gilded tragedy entered global culture as an emblem of hubris and human cost, inspiring inquiries, literature, memorials, and films. More than a headline, the disaster reshaped safety, law, and collective memory, a stern, salt-scented lesson that technology without humility can invite catastrophe.